If you are hoping to spend a night under the stars at Grand Canyon National Park, then this video is for you. Today, I want to talk you through your camping options and add in my own insider tips and tricks so that you can get a campsite reservation at Grand Canyon National Park. My name is Ash. I'm a former park ranger and the founder of Dirt in My Shoes, and I also spend a ton of time at the Grand Canyon. At this point, I have camped in all of these campgrounds that I'm going to talk to you about today, and so I want to just give you the information that you need to have a really successful camping trip to Grand Canyon National Park. Grand Canyon National Park has 4 official front country campgrounds. These are campgrounds that you can drive your vehicle to. It's more traditional camping, and that's what I'm going to cover today. I'm not going to talk about the backcountry options or the ones that you need permits for if you're hoping to hike into the Grand Canyon and stay overnight. These campgrounds are all on the rim of the Grand Canyon. They're your traditional drive-in sites. So we have 1 campground on the North Rim, 3 campgrounds on the South Rim, and I will talk you through all of these. A few things that you'll want to note before making your reservation at the Grand Canyon is that each of these campsites allows 2 vehicles, 6 people, and 3 tents. And so if you are outside of those boundaries, then you'll need to either book a group campsite or book 2 single occupancy campsites. So keep that in mind. Most of the sites in Grand Canyon are reservation only as well, and so you'll want to make sure you're doing your research, watching this video well in advance of needing those campsite reservations. There are some first come, first serve sites that I will talk about as the video goes on, but just be aware that most things are reservable at the Grand Canyon. Another thing that a lot of people don't think about is that the Grand Canyon gets really hot, especially during the summer. It can be 90 plus degrees at the rim of the canyon, and a lot of these campgrounds don't have a ton of shade. There's not like a bunch of big trees in some of these areas, and so if you are going to camp at the Grand Canyon, you'll want to have some type of shade structure or something to keep yourself cooler during those hot summer temperatures. One other thing that you'll notice when you go to the official NPS site for the Grand Canyon, where they have all their camping options, you'll see here on this site that there are no RV hookups in the National Park Service campgrounds. So while that is true, it's pretty confusing because you keep coming down here and you'll see there's a trailer village with RV campground full hookups. So there are some strange things like this as we're looking through the website together that we'll notice that I want to clear up as well, because that to me is very confusing. Officially, there are not RV hookups in the National Park Service campgrounds, but Trailer Village is in the National Park and it does have full hookups. So stick with me here because I will help you navigate some of this confusion. There are some things on the official website for the Grand Canyon that are pretty confusing. So let's start with the South Rim of the Grand Canyon, which is the most popular rim to visit. This is where most people want to go, or what most people think of when they're thinking about going on a trip to the Grand Canyon. The South Rim has 3 different campgrounds, front country campgrounds that you can choose from at the top of the rim. And so I want to walk you through your options so that you can make the choice that's best for you and your group. Looking at the map of the South Rim, I really don't like these maps. They're kind of hard to read, but this is the map of the South Rim. And your 3 different campgrounds are the Mather Campground, the Trailer Village, and the Desert View Campground. So your Mather Campground and Trailer Village options are right in here about. They're in the Market Plaza area of the Grand Canyon South Rim. There's a lot going on here. You're just a short walk to the rim from here. You can take this blue shuttle line almost anywhere you want to go in this area. And so that's a really great option if you're wanting to be in the thick of all the South Rim activities. The other campground, Desert View, is located along the Desert View Drive near the very end as you're exiting the park on this side. So you'll see we have the Desert View area over here with the Desert View Watchtower. the campground is just right in here. So if you decide to stay at Desert View, you're a little bit further removed from the main stuff, but you can see there are some viewpoints along this drive. It's a beautiful drive. But at this point, if you're camping out here, you're about 45 minutes or so from all the main stuff over at the Grand Canyon Village area. I have stayed at all these campgrounds and I like them for different reasons. The Mather campground really is like the main hub of the South Rim. If you're hoping to camp, you'll be so close to everything. It does stay busier. It's a larger campground, and so it does kind of take away some of that camping under the stars type feel sometimes because there's just a lot going on. The trailer village is right there next to the Mather campground, and it's just your typical RV park, maybe even a little less nice than most RV parks. The sites are quite close together. It does feel like a parking lot with hookups a little bit. There are a few trees scattered in there sometimes, but overall you're paying for location, not amenities. So if you want full hookups while you're at the Grand Canyon, it's a good option. It's really the only option, but I don't love the feel of it, but we have stayed there before. Desert View is really nice. It's a small campground. There's not a lot going on. You're gonna get more of that I'm out in nature type of feel in this campground. But it is, again, quite far removed from a lot of the stuff you'll probably want to do while you're at the South Rim. And so there's your extra drive time. You're just further away. So you'll kind of have to weigh the pros and cons of all of these to decide which one will work best for you. On the Grand Canyon website, where it lists off its South Rim campgrounds, you'll notice Mather Campground and Trailer Village are open all year. Those ones are good options always. Mather Campground does have laundry and showers right there, and so that's nice. The shuttle bus picks up from both of these really, really nice and easily, so that's a great option. And then your South Rim campgrounds that are seasonal is Desert View. That one closes during the winter time, so you'll have to take that into account as well. And then you'll see this other campground listed here, the Tusayan Montane Campground, which again is one of those more confusing parts of the National Park Service website because this one actually isn't in the park. The Tusayan Montane Campground is a great option. It's formerly known as 10X. If you've seen 10X listed on other articles, that's what I've always called it, is 10X, but they recently changed the name. So this one is just outside of the town of Tusayan on the south side. You're within 10 minutes driving to the South Rim of the Grand Canyon. So it's very close. It's a Forest Service campground, but it's a great option if you're not able to get something in the park. Just know that when you're looking at the Grand Canyon website and it lists that one, you're not actually in the national park. If you stay there, you're not as close to all the main stuff on the rim. For more information about the campgrounds at the South Rim, you can go to Dirt in My Shoes. I have a full article here that will walk you through what you need to know, including RV lengths, dump station information, fees, stuff like that. You can find that all here on Dirt in My Shoes. And I will go into more detail here in a minute when I show you how to get a reservation, talking through some of those trailer length limits, especially where it can get a little bit confusing again. Let's jump to the North Rim of the Grand Canyon if you happen to be going there. There is one official front country campground at the North Rim. It's just called the North Rim Campground. It's really nice. It's a great location. So this is a fantastic option if you're hoping to camp at the North Rim. Looking at the map, so you're going to approach the North Rim from this road here. You're going to come in. You drive quite a ways to the very end of the plateau, basically, and you've got the North Rim Visitor Center and Lodge right here, and then the campground is just over here. So again, very close. You're really close to the North Kaibab Trail, which is here. And the campground does have a general store, and there are a few amenities here. The North Rim is much quieter than the South Rim, and so you won't find as much by way of amenities, but it is a really great location. The North Rim is much more seasonal than the South Rim, and it closes during the winter months, and so this campground is seasonal as well. There are reservations required during the main season of this campground, and the nice thing about this campground is that it does have larger sites. If you're in a bigger RV or trailer, than you will find at the South Rim. So it is a good option if you're in a large RV and you're not able to find anything at the South Rim. Maybe consider visiting the North Rim instead and staying in the campground there. I mentioned this campground has a general store right next to it. That includes laundry and showers, flush toilets, everything like that. And so it is a pretty comfortable stay here. And I just love the North Rim for its solitude. It's a much more peaceful experience on the North Rim than it is on the South Rim, but I love both rims. And so you just kind of decide what you want to see, and you can go to Dirt in My Shoes to get help with that. I have everything listed out that I recommend, and then you can decide between the North and the South Rim at that point. On the National Park website, again, you'll see North Rim campgrounds listed out. This one is the North Rim campground that I just talked about. And then you see the DeMont campground, which is listed here. Again, a little bit confusing because this campground isn't actually in the national park. It's in the national forest right above the national park. But it is a really good option if you're not able to get anything in the North Rim campground. This one is very close by to the North Rim activities that you want to do. So again, just a little confusing, but there it is. The other thing that's really confusing about the North Rim is that there is actually another campground on the North Rim. It's called the Two Weep Campground. You can drive to this one, but it's a pretty rough dirt road, and it's a very primitive campground. So there's just a couple of sites, and so they do consider the Two Weep Campground to be backcountry in this park, and you'll need a backcountry permit to stay there. I did want to mention it just so you know it exists, but it's not a traditional front country campground, and you will need a permit instead of a traditional reservation. Okay, so now that we have a good overview of the camping options available, I want to show you how to get a reservation. And this is where we'll get into a little bit more of the nitty-gritty details that I like to share, a few insider tips and tricks. So stick with me and I will walk you through the reservation process. Grand Canyon Campground reservations open up 6 months in advance at 8 a.m. Mountain Time. And so you'll want to be at recreation.gov as close to that time as possible. I'm putting in Grand Canyon, and I want to see the camping options, and so that's where you'll find the 3 options that are National Park Service campgrounds that are taking reservations on recreation.gov. So you will notice we have the 2 on the South Rim, but we're missing one. We're missing the Trailer Village. And then the 1 on the North Rim. And again, Two Weep is not included in this because that's a backcountry option. And then the other 2 that were listed on the NPS website are Forest Service options, and so they are not going to show up on here either. So again, a little bit confusing. But if you're wanting to stay in Mather, Desert View, or the North Rim Campground, you'll come to recreation.gov under Grand Canyon, and you'll find those here. So let's jump into the Mather Campground. I want to show you a couple things that you might see when you come in here. And what's crazy about the Grand Canyon is it's actually not as competitive to get a campsite reservation as some of the other national parks, which is nice. So when you come in here, you actually will see some availability possibly, which is unheard of for some other national parks, but for this one, we've got some. And so a few things you might see. So as you come in here, you'll see all the sites listed out, and you will need to do your research beforehand. You'll need to click on the site and take a look at it. So at this point, you can see there is some availability for one night here. If I click into this one, I want to look at this site. You'll see that this is the equipment you can have in this site. It does not list an RV or a trailer, so I know this is pretty much a tent-only site. So as you come down, you can see, yes, this is a tent-only, non-electric site. It gives you all the information. There is some shade in this one, which is nice, but this is the only equipment that you can have. So if you are camping in an RV, you're going to want to check that really closely because you can't reserve a tent-only site if you're going to be in an RV. It's very important to do your research beforehand and make a list of the sites that will work for you even before the reservations open up for the season. Have a good list of what sites you would be able to fit the equipment that you have into, and then when they open up for the season, you'll be ready to go. If you have an RV or something bigger and a tent-only site is not going to work for you, you can go to this filters. You can put in your vehicle length. You can put in that you have an RV, motorhome, and trailer, and you can narrow it down that way. So if you see a blue available, that means that that is available to book. A lot of the sites at the Grand Canyon, you'll notice, have all these C's. These are just site closures. They don't give a good reason for that. Sometimes it's because they have trail crews staying there, or they need it for something else, and so they close it out. Sometimes they're fixing it up, so you might see that. These FFs are first come, first serve, and so I mentioned that Mather Campground does have some first come, first serve sites that they hold back that you can get the day of at 8 a.m. You show up to the campground kiosk. I would get there right when they open or even before to try to get one of these because they can get pretty competitive. So there's a few things that you might see on here. The R means it's already reserved, so that's not an option for your dates. I'm going to put in some dates to get us, I want to show you one other thing. So these sites are open 6 months in advance. And so I want to do the 15th of December because I want to show you that some of these have not been released yet. And so you might see an NR when you're going through here. This is the off season, so there are a lot of closures, but they do have sites available in December, and you'll see all these NRs. That just means that it's not time for that site to be released yet. So if you click on that, then you'll see the date and the time that you need to be back here to try to reserve that site. Again, just make sure you're paying really close attention to whether it's tent only or if it has space for an RV. The tricky thing about camping in both the Mather Campground and the Desert View Campground is that the trailer length limits can be quite short, and it can be hard to maneuver a trailer through these campgrounds. And so we have, it's about 25 feet. 25-foot travel trailer, and it doesn't fit very well in some of these campgrounds at the Grand Canyon. We have done it before. Desert View is even tighter, I would say, for a trailer than Mather is. But sometimes if we just don't want to deal with having to try to get our trailer into one of those smaller sites, then we'll just book at the trailer village. So you'll kind of want to, decide beforehand how much maneuvering you want to do, but pay really close attention to those trailer length limits in the individual site descriptions. Okay, so coming back to trying to get a campsite, I am going to put in, I want to filter that I need a site for an RV. Those are just harder to come by. And so then I'm going to put in my vehicle length, and I'm going to view these results, and then you'll see there's some first come first serve. There's not a whole lot. There's a couple nights over here, and so then if you click on this campsite, you can take a look, and it says here's our max RV length. This one also can have tents. It's got a couple days available. I'm going to come down here and look. There's no shade, so I need to take note of that. That's really important. And here's our trailer and RV max lengths. And so again, you're going to need to look at that. It's a pull-through driveway. The grade is not great. Max vehicle length is 30. That number typically will refer just to your trailer. And so if you're coming in here and you're looking, you can see crap pictures of it, but you should be able to fit a vehicle and a trailer. So that's why it will say it will have its trailer length as 27. That means that your tow vehicle should be able to fit beyond that as well. You just can't have a larger trailer than that, either for maneuverability or just the way the site is set up. So do pay attention to that. They do have some overflow parking if you're not able to get your vehicle into the site with your trailer, but that is definitely something that you'll want to pay attention to. That'll work for me, and so I'm going to go ahead and click those dates that are available and add them to my cart. You want to click the add to cart button as close to the 8 a.m. time when it opens as you can if you're trying to get a very competitive site like an RV site. Those go really fast. Those go faster than the tent sites. So keep that in mind as well. And then if I come in here and I'm saying, you have to put in what the equipment is that you're bringing so that they make sure it fits. I will have 2 vehicles because your trailer counts as one of those vehicles. If you have a senior pass or an access pass, you can add that there and get a discount on your camping. And so read through this, agree, and then you'll proceed to cart and finish out the process. So that process applies to the Mather Campground, the Desert View Campground. Again, watch those trailer lengths in Desert View as well because it does get pretty tight back in there. And the North Rim Campground, which does have better sites for bigger RVs. If you're wanting to stay in the DeMont Campground, that's a privately run campground, so you'll need to visit their website. If you're wanting to stay at 10X or the Tusayan Montaigne is what it's called now, then that is on recreation.gov, but it's not through the Grand Canyon's page. So again, a little bit confusing. And then I want to show you one more thing. If you're staying at Trailer Village, you'll also need to book your site a different way, even though Trailer Village is in the national park right next to Mather. So again, coming to the national park website, you'll come down here and you'll see Trailer Village is here, but it does take you to a different site. So this is through the company that runs some of the hotels in the Grand Canyon, and you will book it this way. The Trailer Village is 13 months in advance. You can make these reservations. So a little bit different from the others, which are 6 months in advance. Go ahead and come in here 13 months in advance to make your reservation. Phew, okay, so Grand Canyon is a little more complicated than most national parks. I don't know why they split things up in the way that they do and have some of the things that are in the national park not showing up, and they have things that are not in the national park showing up. It just gets a little bit confusing. So my recommendations, if you're staying on the South Rim, I do recommend starting with the Mather Campground. If you can get in there, I would do that first. Trailer Village is fine too if you'd rather have hookups, but I would start in that main South Rim area for your campsite reservations. If you're not able to get anything in Mather or Trailer Village, then I would start looking at Desert View or one of the campgrounds outside of the park, like the 10X or Tusayan Montaigne Campground. There are also a lot of dispersed camping options on both rims of the Grand Canyon, actually, because the Grand Canyon National Park boundary is usually touched by a Forest Service boundary, and the Forest Service has more dispersed camping options. So that's something to look into as well. If you're hoping, there are a couple of roads just right outside the South Rim that have dispersed camping. So quite a few options here, actually. Just keep in mind, if you are dispersed camping or if you don't have hookups, the heat really can be terrible during the summer months. If you're staying at the North Rim, then I would recommend starting with the North Rim Campground, trying to get something there. If you can't get something there, then I would move to the DeMont Campground, which is right outside the national park in that area. There are, again, some dispersed camping options along the Forest Service roads in this area. We've done that before too, and it works out pretty well. The North Rim is much cooler than the South Rim. It's at a higher elevation, has more trees, and so it is a more comfortable dispersed camping option as far as temperatures go during the summer months. So a few really good options there, but that would be my recommendations. And if you need any help planning your trip to the Grand Canyon, be sure to go to dirtandmyshoes.com, where I have a ton of resources for you there. Or click the subscribe button here on YouTube and you will be able to explore my other Grand Canyon videos that will help you get started with your trip planning. I hope that you are able to get the campsite reservation that you need and that you have a fantastic time camping at Grand Canyon National Park.